and I saw this apparition above the vine, and it was in the figure of a human. Like, I got a clear impression that Dionysus was communicating with me. And he said, if you want to worship me now, go to the Orthodox Church.
I met Taroist P. Newman in Atlanta, Georgia over the weekend to discuss his creative process and potentially get inspired.
Didn't you draw 8 of clubs recently?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
This is about a big change in the past, connected with a good flow of money. And that's probably how my recent situation and how we were able to get these tickets. You see all this in the present. You see each of these only had one card that became the background, but this is the now. This is the future. So the now has all this influence behind it. A lot of face cards in here, so we'll probably meet some people. We'll see.
I've known P.D. Newman for years, and this is such a wonderful way to catch up. Atlanta, Georgia, for André 3000's return. I love his album. We both do. And I know we're going to walk away from this totally inspired. And since it is just us chilling in ATL, I've got to ask my man some serious questions about the creative process.
You need your card to get out of here?
I thought you had the card.
Yeah, I got one. You.
Under Juju Botanica. Proceed to Baker Street northwest, then turn right.
Who was that honking?
Enchanted by your burning hair, the calling sea.
I told you, man, I don't really have a creative process. I do whatever I want to do when I want to do it, and I let that inform what I do. So if I don't watch a movie to pass the time by. I'm not going to say, what do I want to watch? And, but if I want to watch a movie, I'll pick that movie and I'll really watch it, and then I usually leave with some kind of idea, But rarely is it movies or published media. It's usually something ritually oriented. If it's a new moon or a full moon, I'll go out and observe it, see it firsthand, and I'm usually doing some kind of a ritual and participate in it, to incorporate it. And then before I know it, I have like a couplet in my head, or several verses. When I first went to the Orthodox Church, that's what happened. I was on LSD and thinking about Dionysus, worship through ecstasy, and I was walking through this section of the Natchez Trace and came upon this vines totally loaded down with muscadines, which I'd never seen before because the birds always get them. Mm-hmm. It was the first time I'd ever seen muscadine fruit like that. Thank you. And I started gorging myself on them. They were like I was eating little suns, and I saw this apparition above the vine, and it was in the figure of a human, and immediately felt like I was supposed to go to the Orthodox Church, which I had just heard about. St. Paul, right? Mm-hmm. They had just opened.
In Tupelo.
In Tupelo. It was Sunday morning, and I looked at my watch, and it said it was like 9:30 or something, and I thought, well, if I can go right now, I can get there. And it was almost like a voice. It wasn't a voice, but it was almost like that. Like I got a clear impression that Dionysus was communicating with me in that acid state. And he said, if you want to worship me now, go to the Orthodox Church. And so I went to the Orthodox Church, walked inside. The first thing I noticed was the incense and the chanting and the candles flickering and bouncing off the gold leaf on the icons. And I immediately thought, holy cow, it's like I've entered another universe. And as I walked in, the priest was circumambulating the church, holding a big wooden crucifix that was wrapped in fresh basil leaves, and I could smell the basil as he passed by. And this little Greek lady with her head covered, handed me this huge hunk of sweet Greek bread that had been dunked in port wine and wrapped in those fresh leaves, and she told me to eat it. And I took a bite. I didn't know at that time that wasn't the Eucharist. I didn't know how anything worked. It was just the blessed bread, you know. But I took a bite, and eating that green leaf with the bloody flesh, it was like I was eating Dionysus. And I knew right then I was gonna convert to Orthodoxy. Like, there was no question. That's my creative process. Get fucked up, participate in nature, and wait on the gods. Yeah.
It's a manual. You have to like open it with your hands. Thank you. Been featured on a few records, but he hasn't put out an album before, so doing this new age flute album is pretty dope. And between every song and throughout the songs, people would shout out at him and essentially heckle and totally disrespect his performance and him as a person. It was rough to experience, but at the same time, I was so mesmerized by the music, I tranced out at least 5 times. The 3rd or 4th time, I nearly dropped my beer. So it was an amazing show. The greatest show I've ever experienced. Yeah. Big thanks to P.D. Newman for being on the show today. You were so candid, and the people who really listen are going to have transformation in their lives. Super powerful, just as powerful as the transformation that he and I went through that night in ATL.
I can walk fucking 10 miles through the woods and I don't feel as grimy as I feel after driving 4 hours. Something about driving, man, makes you just feel nasty.
Man not meant to move that way.